Hi friends, welcome to Organic True Crime with Sydney Hopes, where I talk about interesting true crime stories. This month I'm focusing on scams and impersonations, and today I'm going to be talking about someone who impersonated missing people just looking for love and attention, or so he says. So Frederic Bourdin, he was born in 1974 and grew up in the suburbs of Paris. He was mostly raised by his grandparents. He never met his father, and his mom wasn't really very present from what I saw. He started lying from a young age and started telling people he was an orphan because he was looking for the love and attention that he didn't get at home. And other than that, I couldn't really find a whole lot about his childhood. But that brings us to 1994. This is when 13-year-old boy Nicholas Barclay was out playing basketball with his friends in San Antonio, Texas. It got kind of late, so he called his older brother and asked for a ride home, and his brother told him just to walk. And that is the last time that anyone heard from Nicholas Barclay. Until 1997, when Frederic Bourdin, at 23 years old, found out about Nicholas's disappearance, and he assumed Nicholas's identity. There's a hair in my mouth somewhere. Okay. He assumed Nicholas's identity, and he contacted the family and told him that he had gotten away from the child prostitution ring that he had been put in. And despite the fact that Frederic is French and he doesn't really look like Nicholas a whole lot, and he has a different eye color, the family was so desperate to have their son back that they flew him to Texas and he moved in with them. So people were kind of suspicious of him, and there was a local TV station running a story on the family and on the situation. They actually hired a private investigator to question Frederic and see if he really was Nicholas. And the private investigator did not believe that it really was Nicholas, and he was able to prove his theory by comparing Frederic's ears to Nicholas's ears in a picture, and he showed that they didn't match. Eventually, Frederic did confess to the private investigator, and he was identified as Frederic Bourdin by the FBI. And in September of 1998, he pled guilty to passport fraud and perjury and was sentenced to 6 years in jail. In 2003, Frederic was released from jail and sent back to France, where he quickly returned to his old ways. He posed as a tourist and called the police and said that he had found a boy named Leo Ballet. So this boy, I'm sorry if I said that wrong, he's French. He went missing in 1996 at the age of 6. He was camping with his father and disappeared while his father was setting up their tent. So in 2004, at 29 years old, Frederic pretended to be this boy. And they took him to the station and fingerprinted him and checked his DNA and proved that he was not actually Leo, he was Frederic, and he was sentenced to 4 months in jail for that. After this, Frederic kind of went back to doing what he had done as a kid, which was pretending to be an orphan and making up his whole backstory instead of pretending to be actual people. And in 2004, Frederic was in Spain pretending to be 15-year-old Francisco Hernandez Fernandez. I have the hardest time saying that. Anyway, he had told everyone that his parents had died in a car crash and that he was also in the car crash, but he was the only survivor. And he was put into a home and sent to school, and he was given permission by the school to wear a baseball cap because he said that his head was covered in scars from the crash and he didn't want to get bullied. So they let him, and things went pretty well for him. He's just pretending to be a regular old student until an administrator for the school saw a TV special about Frederic Bourdin and all of his impersonations, and they recognized him as Francisco Hernandez Fernandez and confronted him at school, made him remove the cap, and they saw, instead of the scarred head of an orphan that was in a terrible car wreck, a balding head of a man in his 30s pretending to be a 15-year-old. But after that, Frederic pretty much lived a normal life. In 2007, he got married to a woman named Isabel. They had 5 children together until they got divorced in 2017. He says that she left him for someone else and took all of his kids. I don't know. But yeah, that's Frederic Bourdin. Really interesting. What do you think? Did he actually do it for love and attention? I mean, he didn't really get anything else from it except for that I guess he didn't have to be with his family, which he apparently didn't want. I don't know. What do you think about that? It's interesting. I thought, at least. least. Also, really terrible to use missing people and their families to try and get something for yourself. You know, the making up of the orphans is another thing, just manipulating people. I don't know. Tell me your thoughts, and I'll see you next time. Bye!